It was the verdict heard around the world. For nearly a year, George Zimmerman has been in the white-hot spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Since he was acquitted of murder in the Trayvon Martin case, he's had a series of run-ins with police, which have raised a lot of questions about who he is and the things he's done. Well, today, his estranged wife, Shellie, is speaking out in an exclusive interview and talking about the George Zimmerman she knows. Throughout the Trayvon Martin case, she stood by his side, even lying about their finances under oath to get his bail reduced. Eventually, she pled guilty to perjury charges. But after his acquittal and release, she says the marriage was irretrievably broken and filed for divorce in early September.
I think I'm realizing that I have been married to a person for almost 7 years, and I don't think I ever really knew him at all.
A few days later, when Shellie Zimmerman went to retrieve some of her belongings at their home, there was an incident, and she placed a call to 911.
He's trying to shut the garage door on me.
Is he inside now?
No, he's in his car, and he continually has his hand on his gun, and he's saying, step closer. He's just threatening all of us with his firearm. And he's going to shoot us.
Zimmerman was detained after the domestic dispute, but no charges were filed. Shellie says after that, he was nowhere to be found, until his current girlfriend, Samantha Scheibe, also called 911.
What's going on?
He's in my house breaking all my shit because I asked him to leave. He has his freaking gun breaking all of my stuff right now.
He was arrested again and now faces charges of domestic violence for allegedly threatening Scheibe with a firearm.
The victim had indicated that there was a prior domestic violence incident that occurred approximately a week and a half ago that involved a choking that she did not report to the police.
His gun was seized by police, and now Shellie Zimmerman plans to put an end to their marriage, although George Zimmerman's legal troubles continue. So please welcome Shellie Zimmerman. Shellie, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, Shellie, I know you stood by George during the course of that explosive trial. Did you have your doubts back then?
I don't know that I let myself get so deep in thought. I was kind of drinking the Kool-Aid, you could say, trying to survive every day, just immersed in this machinery that is George's case. And so now I have doubts. Back then, I just couldn't go there.
It seems as if a very different picture of him is now emerging with all these things, all these run-ins and incidents. So who was or who is George Zimmerman? Who is the George Zimmerman you know?
I don't know. I don't know who George is anymore. I like to think that I married a person that was a good person. And going through the past year and a half, I don't know how that changes a person or how a person's spirit breaks. But it certainly seems like that's what happened to him. I found out that he was lying about a lot of things, and he became like a pacing lion, very unpredictable. Every single day it was like adrenaline going through my body, constantly not knowing what it was going to be like from day to day.
He was very unpredictable.
Very.
Mercurial.
Yeah.
Were you frightened?
I was. At times, I was.
George has had, as we mentioned, several run-ins with the law this year alone, 2 traffic violations for speeding, and one of those he had a weapon, a gun in his car. There were 2 reported incidents of domestic violence this year, one back in 2005 with yet another woman who was his former fiancée. He's been charged with aggravated assault, battery, and criminal mischief for the most recent incident this week with his girlfriend. Do you think that he unraveled after the Trayvon Martin trial, or did you see glimpses of this kind of behavior earlier?
I think he unraveled after the trial. I think obviously there was the prior domestic dispute with his ex-fiancée, so I think he may have had that potential all along. But certainly we're hearing about more now. He had never assaulted me before like he did during our domestic dispute. So I would have to assume that yes, he did unravel after the trial.
Why weren't charges filed following the incident between the two of you?
Charges were not filed for a couple reasons. Mainly, it was selfish on my part, and looking back, I probably should have sacrificed myself in order for him to go to jail and be charged. But I'm on probation, and the police made it very clear that if charges are filed, we're all going to go to jail, and that I would have to stay there for quite a while.
Probation for?
The perjury.
I know that in all of these reports of domestic violence, George Zimmerman seems to turn it around and blame the woman.
Yes.
For what has happened. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it hits very close to home because obviously that's what he did with me, and I don't like the fact that so many excuses are made for the person who is threatening me, my life, my father's life. It makes me very uncomfortable that he was not held accountable for that. But it certainly seems like it's a pattern for him.
I know that you married him back in 2007.
Yes.
Was there a time when you were ever happy?
Yes. Yes, there was. In the beginning, yes, and we were great friends, and I thought he was a wonderful person. That's why I married him.
And what do you think happened?
I don't know. I haven't seen him in a couple months, but it certainly seems like something snapped in his spirit.
And made him behave like what?
Like a monster.
I know that we reached out to George Zimmerman and also to his lawyers. They declined to comment. And when we come back, what Shellie has to say to the parents of Trayvon Martin today. And we're back with our exclusive interview with Shellie Zimmerman, the estranged wife of George Zimmerman. Shellie, let's talk for a moment, if we could, about the Trayvon Martin case. I know that on the night of the shooting, you were not home.
Right.
You had a fight?
Yes.
With George. Do you remember what that fight was about?
It was something about we had gone out for the night, and I was complaining about feeling sick, and he just didn't want to deal with it and publicly humiliated me. And that's why I ended up leaving, actually, the night before.
And so you weren't at home when he came home?
No, I was not.
Did he ever discuss what happened?
He was always very cautious not to discuss a lot with me. And part of that, I think, is he was constantly working with his attorneys. And I, as his wife, I didn't want to stress him out any more than I needed to. And so I didn't want to ask him a lot of questions.
Was that hard, though, Shellie? I mean,
it was.
If it were my husband, I would want to know what happened, what did you do? But never, ever discussed it?
We discussed it, but very rarely. It was a source of a lot of pain for myself and for him, and didn't want to rehash it every day.
But when you would discuss it, what would he say about it? I'm just curious.
You know, he would say basically what we've seen in the trial, that he was defending himself and stuck to that.
I know that during the course of the trial, he was accused of racially profiling Trayvon Martin. Do you believe that George Zimmerman is a racist?
No, not at all.
Why?
Because George had such a good heart. I mean, we both mentored two African-American children. the majority of his friends are African American. I just cannot go to a place in my heart where I would ever think that he's racist.
I know that you believe the jury did as it was instructed.
Yes.
But do you believe that George murdered Trayvon Martin?
No. I don't believe he maliciously went out to murder someone that night.
I think when people hear of all these incidents following the trial, it does cast further doubt on his actions that night.
Sure.
Do you feel that way? Does
Yes.
it cast further doubt for you?
Further doubt, yes, absolutely.
But yet,
It casts a lot of doubt, like you said, because, like I've said, I don't know the person that I've been married to. So, of course, I'm going to have questions and doubts, but I wasn't there that night. And I've seen the evidence, and the jury has seen the evidence, and they were the ones qualified to make the decision, not me.
I know that you have something you would like to say to the parents of
I do.
Trayvon Martin.
Yes.
What is that?
That I'm so sorry for their loss, and what I go through and what I have gone through is nothing compared to what they experience, the loss that they've experienced every day of their life. And they've inspired me to take a terrible situation like this and try to at least make something positive come out of it. And I pray every single day for them. I carry Miss Fulton in my spirit with me everywhere that I go. And I just want to build a bridge between them and I, that if I can be of any support, any conversation, that I would absolutely love to do that. I think it would be healing for all of us.
But what if they looked at you, Shellie, and said, we believe your husband killed our son. We do not believe justice was served.
That's their right to do so. I respect everyone's opinion, just like I hope anyone would respect mine.
Do you regret at all standing by George Zimmerman?
Part of me does and part of me doesn't. I do wish that the night before, when I had left and went to my father's home, that he had just let me go and didn't call me back into his life, and that I didn't play the role that I did as a supportive wife, because my life would be very different now. But I'm here, and I'm going to try to do the best that I can.
I think in some ways it seems as if George is a ticking time bomb. I mean, given all these incidents, these run-ins, repeated incidents over just this last year, what do you think is going to happen to him?
I don't know. I certainly hope that there are no casualties. I hope that there's no violence. But he does seem like a ticking time bomb. I know I'm certainly afraid. I just hope that he can get maybe the help that he needs to deal with his situation, and that no one else will be hurt.
So where do you, Shellie Zimmerman, go from here? How do you pick up the pieces of your life and move forward, given everything that you've experienced?
Every day I wake up and look forward to the day. I'm finding myself again in ways that I never knew I would. When you're married to a person who is manipulative and emotionally abusive, you start to lose yourself and your identity in that relationship, and leaving him was the best thing that I've ever done. So picking up the pieces is just finding myself again, having fun with my friends and connecting with my family, and just going along for the ride.
Are you going to change your last name?
I think so.
go back to your maiden name?
Probably, yes.
And again, how do you make something positive come from this? I mean, do you plan to speak out, and about what?
Yes, I would love to give a voice to a very silent population of women who suffer from emotional abuse or verbal abuse. I think a lot of the attention is directed at battered women, and I wish that someone had said something that I could have identified with early on, years ago. And so I would like to bring some awareness to that.
Because you feel as if you were emotionally abused?
Yes.
Well, Shellie Zimmerman, thank you very much for coming in, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shellie, and we'll be right back.